This video is the silliest thing I've ever seen in my life. Today,
we'll rank the top portrayals of death in media here. Let's go. So guys, here, I'm going to try to evaluate the representations of death, thinking about the context in which it's presented. So, what do you mean, Emmy? It's just that in the other tier lists I've made here, which I'll leave for you guys, I chose characters with clear representations on the screen, like Hades. Hades has a unique description, which is from Greek mythology. There aren't a bunch of different ones out there. Well, actually, there kind of are, right? Because there are adaptations in the media, but the real representation is the one from Greek mythology. Now, death, right? The representation of death is seen differently in each culture, in each mythology, in each universe. That's why I'm going to evaluate the context here, okay? Remember that I did some research because I don't know all the representations. Besides that, of course, there's going to be a lot of my personal opinion. These are the deaths that are included. The screen shows rankings from D to S. Let's go. Before starting the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, if possible, hit that button too, and share the video. Also, comment a suggestion for the next mythological character tier list with multiple adaptations. It could be God, Jesus, anyway, give your ideas, all right? And if you want to know more about mythology, check out the pinned comment. I'll leave it there for you. Just by clicking on it, you'll already be helping me out. A lot, really. Let's go. Let's start with Dona Morte from Monica's Gang. She depicts death in a typical way, inspired by the Grim Reaper from the Middle Ages, who wears a hood and carries a scythe. It's well known, you've likely seen it. I even have a video about it here on the channel. From what I understand, it doesn't have a very well-defined gender. Sometimes it appears more as a man, and sometimes as a woman. For example, this image of Morte Azina looks suspicious. That's it. There's also an image of her in slippers. She works for St. Peter, and her place of residence is the Kingdom of Purgatory, which can be found in any grave of a cemetery. She notices her clients' fear when they see her and tries not to let it affect her. But, despite pretending to be a determined figure who isn't affected by anything, Dona Morte hides her somewhat sensitive side. There, with a strong desire to be accepted, she even gets embarrassed when she is praised or pampered there, even if it's with the intention of pleasing her so that she doesn't take her clients to the afterlife. Even after centuries of experience, Lady Death can still be easily fooled when her emotions are involved. She often tries to soften the news that her victim is dying, but can't cope with the loss. And because she's soft-hearted, there are times when she kind of feels sorry for or has pity on those she comes to take, especially if they help her or are some kind of idol. She might refuse to take the person or even switch clients if the other deserves it. This death reminded me of Thanatos from Greek mythology, right? She can be deceived as shown with Thanatos and Sisyphus. It's a very nice, very naive death, which fits well with the world of Monica's Gang. However, this thing about being tricked, embarrassed, and also being too nice really got to me, so I'll just leave it at that. Death in Family Guy, like in Monica's Gang, is inspired by the Grim Reaper. Wearing a hood and carrying a scythe, but she's less cute. She also has a skull face. Being from the Family Guy universe, there are naturally some absurd things. For example, they say he's a mama's boy, really spoiled, and has trouble interacting with women. Probably because during his teenage years, he showed a habit of killing girls while he was with them. Of course, unintentionally. He also has other issues because he acted in some movies he's not proud of, though I don't remember which ones, but anyway.
how does he manage? Well, let's say that when I was younger, I made some movies I'm not very proud of.
He's only responsible for humans, right? When dogs die, he takes his own dog to collect their souls. So, it's a good death for the Family Guy universe. I think the design is common and contrasts with the show's style, so it goes in B. Marvel's death can appear in various forms and genders, but typically has a woman's body, a skeleton face, and a hood. Based on my research, she has this information. Although death is seen as the enemy of life and her brother Eternity, she is an important part of their cosmic balance. She has an unbalanced relationship with Thanos, right? The mad titan who's crazy about her and does all sorts of things to try to get her attention. She also once used Marlo Chandler as her host on Earth, and Marlowe eventually took over her job while Death retired. However, Thanos interrupted her retirement by sealing her in the Death Stone. Oblivion is said to be Death's origin. Death emerged with the Big Bang and other cosmic entities at the start of the seventh cosmos. Eternity, Infinity, Master Order, Lord Kaldos, or something like that. Eternity and Death are often called twins, but they actually had several siblings. God, said to have created Earth 616 and other realities, also claimed to have created Death, so that his project of creating universes involving life would be accepted by his contractors. Death made her home in the realm of Death, a dimension usually closed to the living, and was attended by the undead Lakai. The Infinite Well could answer any question, perhaps offering the wisdom of the dead. Her relationship with her siblings reminded me of Hela from Norse mythology, and I liked her design. It's different, but it still has a Reaper vibe, right? Can you tell she's Death? Regarding her relationship with Deadpool, I think it's really cool too, since Deadpool also has a thing with Death, besides Thanos. I'm going to put her in A because, despite all that, she's not that memorable to me. The Death in The Sims is a little Reaper that shows up every now and then. Well, there's not much to say. The guy doesn't even talk, so I'll put him down at the bottom. Necron is essentially the end of the District of Columbia Lanterns. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Maybe it's Necro. He is the Lord of the Undead among the universe's most powerful beings, able to summon the dead for any purpose. Here is the definition I found for him. Necron is the physical manifestation of the concept of death as a cosmic certainty, born from the destruction of the emotional spectrum, and serving as the emotional personification of black. Death, he is the direct counterpart of the living entity and opponent, the end of all life that exists. As a cosmic force of evil, he often finds himself in conflict with the Green Lantern Corps. So I'm not an expert on hierarchies, but from what I know about Necro, from what I've seen about him, he created the Black Lanterns, right? Which I think is really awesome. Besides, Necron's design is really cool and really good to me. He goes in S tier. Death from this show is just a biker. He carries a scythe, wears a jacket, and has no hood. And it's also worth mentioning that he has a strong arm. And when I say it's a strong arm, it really is, because the other one is Chasiri Grillo, Death, from just one show. At the same time that he's pretty sadistic, he's also really fun and gets along well with other characters. As I recall, he loves competition, even if it interferes with his work. Like when Saltito bet his life and Rigby's soul in an arm wrestling match with Morte, and when they bet Musculoso's life in a hot dog eating contest. Both times, Death lost, but this different kind of death is really good. It's this one. This is a well-known death, but honestly, I've only watched The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy once. As I recall, it didn't air on broadcast television, and I didn't have cable. But a bit of research can help, right?
The movie isn't ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
Puro Oso is a supernatural being, thousands of years old, whose last job was delivering spirits to the underworld. After losing the Limbo Championship in Purgatory, Puro Oso is forced to be friends with Billy and Mandy. He tries to keep what little dignity he has left. But it's difficult when, according to him, those two detestable kids constantly humiliate him. Basically, his appearance is that of a Grim Reaper. He's described as grumpy, and he's also the god Venus, crazy about health, community services, neighbors, and new neighbors. Even more, false alarms while he's at work. And anytime Billy and Mandy mix his professional life with his personal life, well, I thought he was okay, but nothing special either. I'll put him in A because for his universe, he fits well, but his appearance could have been more unique. I'm going to put these two dead ones here together in D, because their style, their design are exactly the same, right? They're basically the same and don't stand out. The death from The Simpsons I included is from their special episode, right? In Treehouse of Horror, Homer becomes Death, but that's a separate episode and doesn't really count. I'm actually thinking of the South Park one. The only thing I remember is Morty riding a little bike, which is pretty funny, but nothing special either. I didn't even know this one existed. It's a Morty from the Teen Titans Go universe itself. And what I found out about him is the following. Now, I... Talking about Morty dying gets to me a little, because of that I'm going to let him and D here, not D, Pixie, go with this one. I just didn't remember. Also, it's about the death of the universe in the movie Click by Adno. Sandler is called Morley in the movie, and he's the one who gives the universal remote to the protagonist. I thought it was brilliant. The guy even becomes a salesman there and gives the remote. Besides having that final scene of Michael leaving the hospital, for the context of the movie, I thought it was excellent. I'll add it to S. Thanatos is an antagonist deity in Chambers of the Zodiac. Like in Greek mythology, he would personify mortality, death itself. Twin brother of Hypnos, the Greek god of sleep, in Kurumada's myth. Although he is the subordinate of Hades, the emperor of darkness and ruler of the underworld, he is a deity with all the attributes. Like his lord, he is a sworn enemy of Athena, the earth's protector. From what I've seen, he is depicted as cruel, merciless, hateful toward humans, arrogant, and quick to inflict death. Damn. Fittingly for the universe of Knights of the Zodiac, I think he's actually pretty good. But again, the problem I have with Knights is that I think all the characters are kind of similar. Thanatos never truly seems to embody death itself. So I'm going to leave it in B in Darksiders, which is a game series that was supposed to have at least the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse as protagonists, of course. We have Morte, and Death. He leads and is the most powerful horseman. He is the oldest and currently the strongest of the surviving Nephilim, since he and the other horsemen carried out the extermination of the rest of their species under the orders of the Council. He is feared throughout the Darksiders universe more than any other horseman. I didn't find much more about him, his design, I just thought it was amazing. He even reminded me a bit of Lobo from District of Columbia, and even so, he clearly gives off the idea of being Death. But due to lack of information, I'll leave it at A. This is one of the ones I like the most. It's the Black Flash, or Black Flash, which would basically be Death. For speedsters, it's unclear if the Black Flash exists, since speedsters are too fast for normal Death to catch them, or some kind of bizarre side effect of their connection to the Speed Force. But anyway, I think his concept is really cool, having a specific Death for speedsters. Also, his design is amazing. It's basically Death in a Flash suit, which is really cool. That's a great adaptation, definitely S tier. Cadu de Botas offers an interesting take on Death. They combine the Grim Reaper and the Big Bad Wolf concepts. By the way, I have a video here on the channel talking about this character. He has the hood and 2 scythes, which are basically the symbols of the Grim Reaper. Reaper and his whistle recall the Three Little Pigs story, where the big bad wolf blows down houses. For me, it goes in S as well. In Adventure Time, we have two deaths. The first is from the classic series, which is basically a guy with an animal skull face and a fanny pack. He even enters a music competition with Finn. And there's the new death, who is the son of that death. Well, in the case of the older death, there's the fact that he dies to his own son, right? That gets to me a bit, so I'll stick with B. Also, the new death, though manipulated by the Lich, has a really stylish design. He even looks like a pimp, right? He's big, wears a hat, has boots and leather gloves, and really gives off that villain vibe. I really like Death as a villain. I'll put it in A Sandman, considering only the series since that's all I've seen. Although I'm going to start reading it. They said the comic book is really good. From what I understood, Death is portrayed gently, with scenes of her patiently and empathetically collecting souls, explaining what's happening to the person or giving them a moment to realize they've died. This one's pretty different from the other, more brutal deaths on the list. I really liked it, but I feel like something's still missing. Something about her appearance to remind us that she really is Death. Because if I didn't say it, at least I wouldn't know. I mean, I would know who she is, but I'll let it go. Well, in Supernatural, Death is also one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, she's the most powerful one and also the oldest of them. And there's that really great scene where he gets out of his car and a guy bumps into him. Death glances back, brushes himself off, and kills the guy. It's a cool scene from the early seasons. I really like him. He really gives me the impression of being Death, you know? He has a commanding presence when he shows up. He brings a certain fear when he's in the scene. And there's also that scene where he's looking for your soul. He goes over to the cage where Miguel and Lucifer are. It's one of the few creatures with that ability, right? Anyway, I think the first seasons are really good. But the last scene where Jim kills Death with his own scythe gets me a bit. And then, guys, well, that's how it is. I can't handle it, so my opinion drops a bit. I'll leave it at A at... Out of respect and nostalgia that I have for the series and for the first seasons. If you like the video and want more videos like this, leave a like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to leave some tips for the next tier list. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also share tips for future tier lists.